All right, solving quadratics by factoring. When you're factoring, what you're really finding is your x-intercepts. So like if you look at this graph, you'll figure out where it crosses. Here's your parabola. These are your answers if you're looking at graphically. When it says solve using factoring, you got to be able to factor. Is this the one we already factored? Looks familiar. Okay, is that one? 7 and 2? No, it's different. So we have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And there is an a. It's set equal to 0. That's the first step. Set equal to 0. Keep x squared positive. That'll help you in the long run. Step 2, factor. The whole page ahead of this was how to factor. So it's just step 2 is using the whole page ahead of you, factor. And then we're going to set each factor equal to 0. And solve. Okay, so right now there is an a, so we're going to do a times c. A times c is negative 12. Multiplies to negative 12 and adds to negative 1. So that's negative 4 and positive 3. Now you can do factor by grouping, but I'm not. I'm going to say, since there's an ax squared, I'm going to put that in the front. I'm going to put that in the front. We're going to get rid of the equal 0. So 6x goes in the front, and then I use my numbers. Negative 4, positive 3. Now, 6x times 6x is 36x squared, so we have an extra factor of 6. 4 times 3 is 12, so again, we have an extra factor of 6, so we have to take it out. Greatest common factor here is 2. Greatest common factor here is 3, so we're going to take that out. So we get 3x minus 2 and 2x plus 1 equals 0. Now, why we're setting each factor equal to 0 is if two numbers multiplied together gives you 0, x could be 0 or y could be 0, either one. So this is x, this whole parentheses could equal 0, or this whole parentheses could equal 0. So we set both of them equal to 0 and solve. Add over your 3x. Nope, I lied. Add over your 2. Divide over by 3. I want that as a fraction. Otherwise, it's going to be 0.6 repeating. And if it is repeating, go ahead and leave it as a fraction. Subtract over 1, divide over by 2. Okay? Those are your zeros. Now, don't forget this first step of setting this equal to 0. So 8x squared minus 10x plus 3. We want to keep this positive. That's why we're adding over 3 instead of subtracting those over. Then that's what we're factoring. What multiplies to 8 times 3. 8 times 3, so that's 24. And adds to negative 10. 1 and 24, 2 and 12. There you go, 2 and 12. 2 and 12. You're adding to a negative, so you want the bigger number to be negative. There's a term here. There is an a term here, so we're going to put ax in the front of both of these. And then our numbers, plus 2 minus 12. Again, there's an extra factor of our a term. This time it's 8. So we need to scale these down by 8. 8 doesn't come out nicely from one parenthesis, so we're going to take a factor of 2 out of the first parenthesis and then a factor of 4 out of the second. I did that because 8 and 2, you have a greatest common factor of 2. 8 and 12, you have a greatest common factor of 4. If you multiplied them, that is your greatest common factor of 8. So 8x divided by 2 is 4x. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 8x divided by 4 is 2x. Negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. Check at least the first and the last one. 4x times 2x is 8x squared. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3, so something is wrong. Because this multiplies to a negative. I chose the wrong factors. Oh, dang it. Okay, that's why we check. This is wrong. Try again. Because to multiply to a positive and add to a negative, they both have to be negative. So I chose the wrong factors. That's why we check. 4 and 6. 4 and 6. That's what it is. Well, I made a mistake, but at least that teaches you to check your answers. So if I put 4 here, then it's still a multiple of 4. If I put 6 here, then it's still a multiple of 2. I'm just being lazy. So 8x and 6x, I would grade as common factor of 2. So 8x divided by 2 is 4x. Negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. 8x divided by 4 is 2x. Negative 4 divided by 4 is 1. Check again. 4x times 2x is 8x squared. Negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3. Glad I checked. I would have gotten the wrong answers if I did not. So 4x, set each factor equal to 0 and solve. You can factor by grouping. If you factor by grouping, you should end up with the same factors. I'm going to use this shortcut every time because it's faster. Factoring this way is faster, but you don't have to. So I'm going to do one of these by grouping just so for my people who are doing grouping. Let's do the 8. So 8x squared minus 10x plus 3. Luckily, I know my correct factors this time. So I'm going to break this 10 into negative 4x and negative 6x. Bring down the 3, bring down the 8x squared. And then you're factoring by grouping. Group the first two. My greatest common factor is 4x. So I get 2x minus 1. Group the second two. My greatest common factor is 3. Since this first term is negative, we want to make it a negative 3. If you did not, then you would get negative 2x plus 1. And that does not match. We want these parentheses to match. So that's why we're going to take out a negative 3. So we're going to take out a negative 3, and then it will match 2x minus 1. Okay, so just be careful with your signs. Now we did grouping correctly because we have like parentheses. We take that out. Anything left over goes in your second parentheses. So it does not matter how you factor it. You're going to get the same factors. It does not matter that they're in different order. They're the same factors, and then you'll get the same answers. So I do not mind which way you solve as long as you know how to solve them. Okay. All right. And then solving using the calculator, I like to continue on, set it equal to 0. Okay. So I'm going to set it equal to 0 and do negative 2x squared. We don't have our calculators in our classroom, which I hate for us, but we've done intersections as well. So in our calculator, we would calculate this as y equals. And so this is what we'd graph. And since we're just here, I want to say this is the calculator app that I have on my phone. That's free and it mimics your 84 calculator perfectly, very well. That's what I would get if I were you. They have it in Google and they have it in Apple. So, but if I was you, I'd go ahead and get that for some kind of calculator 84. Don't spend money. Look for a free app. Calculator 84 is free. Otherwise, we're going to Desmos graphing. You can do this at home, but on the tests and quizzes, you have to know how to use your calculator. So please, please, please learn your calculator. Negative 2, 36, negative 105. Negative 2, 36, negative 157. I don't even think I said that right. Negative 2, 36, negative 157. It's going to be wrong if I get that wrong. So, all right. This is still very similar to our window. What's nice about the computer is I can just like drag it and I'll see it. But just to practice our window settings, this is our Y max, Y min, X min, X max. So if you're home, this is your window. So I don't need all this empty space. My graph's to the right over here. Here's my graph over here. So I'm going to go put that at negative 1 because I always like to see the x-axis. And then I can't see the rest of the graph, so I need my x to be higher than 10. It doesn't look far, so I can try 15. Oh, there's my whole graph. I can see my whole parabola. And then this could adjust your y's, but ours is pretty good right now. And we'd be looking for our y-intercept. On our calculator, we do second trace, zeros. Here's our 0. We want to go to the left of it. We'd hit enter. We go to the right of it, hit enter, and then we guess where it is. On this, it's super easy. You just click on them. Here they are. So those are our answers. X equals 7.19 and 10.58. So, okay. So this is how I like to solve it. I like to set it equal to 0. Y1, just plug it in, graph it. Y equals 0, plug it in, graph it, find your zeros. So we would hit second, trace. I don't know. I don't have the calculator at home either. 0. And then we'll go to the left of your 0 and to the right of your 0. Hit enter. You'd guess. And then you'd have to do that 2 times. Okay. Another way to do it is to leave the equation how it is. This works for any equation. So, and then we'll set the left side. This is a second option. I like the first option. This is my favorite. I would do it this way. Another option is you can set the left equation in one of your graphs, and then the 157 in the other graph, and then find the intersection. So in this method, you're finding the intersections. In this method, you're finding your x-intercepts, which in our calculator, or another word for, is your zeros, where your graph equals 0. X-intercepts and zeros are the same thing. So just to show you this really fast, we've already talked about finding intersections. So instead of putting it here, I should really say y equals just so you guys know. And then the other one would be 157. And then that's when our windows have to change again. We're looking at 157. So we need our y max to be above that. I'm just going to say 200. There we go. There it is. I can see it. But I can't see the end of my graph over here. So I'm going to check my x max to maybe, doesn't look too far, maybe 20. Yep, there it is. That's just a guessing game. I'm just playing a guessing game. I got lucky. But these are still the same right here. So it's still 7.419 is my answer, and 10.581 is my answer. Now, you have to know how to solve by factoring, though. So don't think, hey, I can do this on any of them. You can. It's a great way to check your answers, but you still need to solve by factoring because that's what I'm grading you on. So for instance, if we wanted to check, let's check this one since I worked it 2 different ways. I'm going to put 8x squared minus 10x in for one of my graphs. 8x squared minus 10x for one of my graphs. It is parabola going up. And the other side is -3. I do not like my windows, so I'm going to start over. I'm going to go hit my home button, and I can see it there. All right, and then your intersections are your answers. Zoom in, do this. And so my answers are 0.5 and 0.75. So if I look at my notes, 0.5, 0.75. Easy way to check your answers. Okay. We will have to know how to use our calculator. We'd have to do second trace, whatnot, because we cannot use Desmos on tests and quizzes in our class. All right. I will be online from, shoot, I posted it on Google Classroom. Let me look. Nope, that's geometry. I will be on Google Meet from 2:15 to 2:45. If you need me, you can join. You don't have to. Otherwise, email me with any questions you have. Okay? Have a nice day.